Everyone having a good time so far? All right, we're only a quarter of the way through the NICE conference. I am so excited about our next series of speakers. One of the things that we were adamant within the NICE organizing committee was to identify great stories around our community, the cybersecurity education, training, and workforce community. Great stories of individuals who have really made an impact and their journey is really motivating. And I'm absolutely inspired to welcome our first Story Showcase speaker. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in Devonie Nelson to showcase her experiences, her stories, and hopefully motivate you to make it better in your cybersecurity career. So Devonie, please join me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devonie Nelson, and I'm a junior cybersecurity engineer. It still feels really surreal to say that. Before my journey into cybersecurity, I lived many different lives. I explored a lot of different roles. My best friend used to joke with me about being the career Barbie, you know, the Barbie that dresses up as like a different career every day. That was me. And that's exactly what I felt like. I felt like I was just trying different things on and I wasn't finding the fit. I received my bachelor's degree in biology from the absolute best HBCU in the country, Prairie View A&M University. So after I graduated, I was very limited as to what I could do with my biology degree. Apparently, they don't let you into medical school with a 2.75 GPA, so that was kind of out. So I was back to the drawing board. Everyone had already said that I would make a great teacher. I used to tutor when I was in undergrad, so everybody was like, try teaching, you'd be a great teacher. I was like, okay. So I tried on my next uniform, now I'm a teacher, right? So my first year of teaching, I was welcomed into the field by the warm embrace of the events of March 2020. I think we're all familiar with that. So no problem, back to the drawing board. I thought I'd try getting into mortgages. I was gonna be a mortgage refinancer. Again, welcome to that field with another warm embrace of spiking interest rates in the beginning of 2021. So at that point, I was spending like 10 hours a day on the phone, calling these nice people all over the country saying, hey, like, can I convince you to refinance your mortgage from a 2.1% to a 4.9 with no, I had no other justification other than like, if you don't say yes, I'm gonna lose my job. So I'll let y'all guess how that turned out, right? So back to the drawing board. These were only a couple of examples of the many roles that I tried on. I'm telling y'all, really, career Barbie. So at this point, I started to feel like a defective puzzle piece. I felt like I didn't really have a fit. And it really started to take a toll on my mental health. So at the time, I was really blessed. My partner was able to just give me a break. I was able to kind of stay at home until I figured things out. If you learned anything from my story up until this point, things don't always go as planned. Had to get back to that drawing board when the two of us turned into the three of us. So I quickly had to find another job. So I found a customer service role where I was working remotely. The pay was very low, but it offered great benefits for my new little poppy seed, as I referred to my daughter at the time. I was terrified to work in a public-facing role, so I ended up taking the remote customer service job. And I thought to myself, things are finally looking up for me. It was peak COVID. Everyone was still walking around. You couldn't get in anywhere without an N95 mask. So I felt like I was in a good place where I could work from home, right? But I didn't truly feel fulfilled, unfortunately. So fast forward to July of 2022. I'll spare you all the details, but the three of us were now, again, the two of us, this time just me and Poppy Seed, or as I was then referring to my 3-month-old daughter, Phoenix. By now, I had drawn all over that drawing board that I kept running back to, so I just replaced it with a dry erase board. Had to get some expo markers. We knew we were gonna have to pivot at that point, right? So I was now prepared for any unexpected obstacle because I keep getting them. So my remote customer service role had offered me a generous 4 months of leave, of maternity leave. The week before I was supposed to return back to work, I got a call. And everyone who works remote, we know, you have to provision your systems, you have to kind of get ready a little bit before you get started, right? I'm thinking that's that call. That was not that call. The call on the other end, the woman said, "Hey, I'm sorry to tell you." And I'm like, "Whoa, sorry to tell me what?" I was getting laid off. My role, my company had a series of layoffs, and they told us they were sure our jobs were secured. I was in member services. They needed us, right? Apparently, they didn't need us, so I was let go. Before I had my daughter, I had always kind of wondered if being a mom would change me, if I would be one of those people that woke up and suddenly found my purpose, now that I had a kid. And if you can tell by the theme of the story, I was honestly hoping that would be the case. So I felt like this was it. This was my time to see what I was really made of. This time, whatever my next move would be would not only impact myself, but my daughter. So enter the start of my journey into cybersecurity. I had a friend who'd been in InfoSec for years, and she encouraged me to try it out, to explore the field, see, if there would be a place for me here. And I had kind of brushed it off, hadn't given it much thought. But at this point, now I'm transitioning into something better. Something has to be better at this point. So I talked to her again. She seemed to really enjoy what she is doing, and let's be honest, she also enjoyed the paychecks. So I said, you know what? That's it. That's the career for me, right? And at this point, I liken it to almost desperation for me to find my fit. And I just decided that little puzzle piece that hadn't fit anywhere, I was fully prepared to jam my way into the huge puzzle of cybersecurity. So I moved really quickly into the pursuit. One day I decided I'm going to get into cybersecurity. The next day I signed up for a master's program. It went real fast. So I was immediately, even on that journey, faced with some obstacles. Y'all remember that 2.75 GPA? Not a lot of people let you into grad school with that. So back to the drawing board, right? But I found the Master of Security Management program at the University of Houston downtown. Shameless plug, we do have a booth outside. So go by and see them. Sorry, notes. So I reluctantly submitted my application and just braced to face rejection yet again. I was surprised to receive a message that I'd been accepted. I spoke with Dr. Marilyn DeMint, who I believe is also here. I haven't had a chance to see her yet today. And I told her about my fears due to my previous experience of being rejected because of my undergrad GPA. And she told me, hey, if we were all judged based off of our undergraduate GPA, there wouldn't be very many professionals in the world. So, with that being said, that was the first reassuring comment for me, the first of many on my journey into cybersecurity, and it really solidified for me that this was going to be something that I was able to do. So I started school, still was not working. That November, I attended my first conference, which was Afrotech. It was held in Austin, Texas that year, and I went to the conference not really knowing what I wanted to get out of it. I just knew that there were going to be people there who worked in tech, who I could maybe possibly get some guidance from. And I just went in open to receive. The first question I was met with was, okay, you want to be in cybersecurity, what area of cyber? I was so brand new, I was like, the cyber one, the one that secures things. That's the one I want to be in. So my only answer that I could really give at that point was GRC, and because that was what I was most exposed to at the time. So luckily, I ran into a lot of people that were willing to help, willing to share their own journeys with me, willing to share, how they ended up in their area of cyber, and that's how I started to kind of navigate my way. So 2 things happened as a result of this experience. First, I was able to relax in a sense. I mentioned that before. that little puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere, I was gonna jam it into the cybersecurity puzzle, right? But after this experience, I kind of started feeling like I didn't have to. So I didn't know if I was in the right place yet, but I felt like I was on like the right board. So on the other end, a fire was lit. I gained so much from that 4-day conference, similar to this one. So I knew, I had to capitalize off of that. I needed to make sure that I connected with the connections that I made, follow up with everyone, kind of see the people that I met that were in cybersecurity, what they were doing, who they knew, who they were connected with, what training they had done, so that I could identify, okay, yes, next time I go and someone asks me what area I want to be in, I can have a more direct answer. So here's where I started to explore LinkedIn a little bit more. I had my profile for a while. I hadn't really done much with it. I probably had like 25 connections of people that I worked with throughout all my previous roles. But I started to learn how small the huge community of cybersecurity was. And from there, I was able to connect with more people who genuinely wanted to assist me and help me find my way. Not only me, but so many of us who were aspiring cybersecurity practitioners. One of the most pivotal moments in that time was discovering, through some of my LinkedIn connections, Women in Cybersecurity, or WISIS. The WISIS, yay! The WISIS mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity to build a robust and diverse cybersecurity workforce. A light bulb went off. That's me. I'm a woman in cybersecurity, or at least I'm planning to be. So the puzzle piece was that much closer to finding its fit. Through WISIS, I was able to find a plethora of resources where I was able to obtain training. I actually got my first certification through their partnership with IAC Squared, through one of the boot camps, the Certified in Cybersecurity certification. I think IAC Squared, I'm pretty sure every organization that I'm talking about in this speech is here, so thank y'all. Around this time, I was also finding other opportunities as well on top of being in school. So I found another company, another organization called Click that provided hands-on training experience within cybersecurity, and I was able to later use that to talk about project experience and how I got hands-on training without actually having a job. In the spring of 2023, I found another boot camp style program where I got a lot of my foundational IT training. So I was doing a lot of learning. So at this point, whenever people talk to me and they're like, hey, what did you do to get into cybersecurity? And I'm like, everything. The boot camps, the training, school, certifications, networking, all the things, right? But the spring was a bittersweet time for me. I was really proud of all that I'd accomplished in a really short time, but I also started to have doubts creep in because I was still unemployed with a little mouth to feed. This was a newborn. Do y'all know how much they eat? Okay. y'all know by the response. So by that summer, through some of the connections that I had made, I was offered an internship. It was technically in sales and more focused on physical security with a little bit of network security sprinkled in, but I was grateful and I was ready to get in somewhere and start learning. So while I was there, I used the time to learn more about network security and just maintained a positive outlook. That positivity started to dissipate. At that time, I was driving around on a car that had not been insured for months. It was very unsafe to be driving. My government benefits, they had like canceled them for some reason. And it was just a really rough time. Through the WISIS resources, I was connected with Last Mile Education. Yay! They're here today. So their mission is to offer a disruptive approach to increasing diversity in tech and engineering fields by addressing critical gaps in financial support for low-income, underrepresented students. That light bulb flickered again. That's me, but I had said that one a little bit quieter that time. I was full of excitement and hope. I submitted an application and I was granted enough assistance to pull me out of the rut that I was in, and it was literally the push that I needed to keep going. So with my head back on straight and my car rolling on safe tires, I was back to my pursuits. Still learning as much as I could to prepare for my first role in cyber and thriving and enjoying my time in my internship. One day I received an email from a recruiter. The recruiter kept sending me the same job posting over and over. I'm sure this has happened to some of you before. They were looking for a network security engineer. And at that time, I'm like, I don't need to look at anything that has engineer in the name. One day, by about the third or fourth time that I got the email, I looked at it again, and they changed it from engineer to analyst. And it specifically said, we're willing to train. So I reached out to the recruiter and essentially expressed, hey, I don't have much to offer yet, but hope and a willingness to learn. And somehow he bought it, and he passed me on to the hiring manager. I got to the hiring manager interview, he bought it too. So now I'm a network security analyst. Thank you. So yeah, I was really shocked to receive that position. I got on, I was learning a lot, but it was a very hands-off position. I was in more of a support role. They were willing to let me learn and willing to let me watch, but it was more of a, okay, come in, sit down, don't touch anything, just, just help us when we need help. And which, of course, at this point, I appreciated. But while I was getting settled into that contract role, I was surprised to receive a LinkedIn message from a security manager of a startup called Modern Health. Spoiler alert, that's where I work right now. The manager had discovered my profile as a result of my affiliation with WESIS. And even though he'd seen I recently started my contract, he offered me the opportunity to apply to a role that he had coming up that was specifically crafted for someone who was new to cybersecurity, someone willing to learn, someone that he could train. So as I tried to contain my excitement and gratitude, I reached back out to him, and I was like, well, yes, of course, I would like to apply to the role. I knew it was the perfect fit after I read the job description, and at this point, my puzzle piece, y'all, it was ready to get into place. So I had the opportunity to interview, and I subsequently landed the role. That was back in September, and I've since learned so much, and I'm really enjoying every minute of being in this field and in what is truly my dream job. My piece of the puzzle is finally in its rightful spot. I know that none of this will be possible without countless people taking a chance on me when I felt like I didn't have much to offer. While we all come from different backgrounds and we'll have different stories of how we made our way into being here today, my hope is that my story will inspire others on their own journey to persevere until you find your fit, and for those of you in positions to offer a chance to somebody who is willing to learn, to do so. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Devonie.